All right.
Hi. Stop the banging, young man. It's me, Neal Brennan. It's the Blacks podcast. We talk about our problems. We heal the earth.
Our sensitivity to slapping the table.
Yep, that's block number one. Throw it up there.
Yep.
My guest today was the co-host of the Conan O'Brien.
You can say Sidekick.
Nah.
All right.
I don't like it.
All right.
The Sidekick for Conan O'Brien on NBC.
Makes him angry.
Stop it, Andy. It's not funny.
At 12:30 on NBC, at 11:30, then on TBS.
What I'm saying is that the only time you should watch porn is when you're falling down the pit of self. And the only thing you can do to stop your fall is grab hold of your own penis. That's when you watch porn.
Another good time is when everyone goes to the grocery store.
And he was great. Show was great. Consistently the best comedy on television. Won Emmys for a while, and then Chris Rock stole all the writers.
No, we won one Emmy.
Oh, you didn't? You only won one?
One Emmy.
I thought
a handful of Writers Guild awards, but just one Emmy, and that was for writing. That was not for.
He says it like he didn't bring them with him.
I actually, they're my key fob, and you told me I couldn't. They were too noisy, so I had to leave them over there.
Andy Richter.
Hi,
ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Neal.
Hi, how are you? How do you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk to you.
He has a podcast called 3 Questions with Andy Richter, and he has a call-in show called the Andy Richter Call-in Show. So he didn't waste any energy thinking of a title.
No.
So it's all the energy goes into the content.
Right.
That's your commitment to people.
No, I mean, I'm too old to think of some cute title.
How old are you?
57.
You had 3 more years. You could have.
How old are you?
We don't talk about. I bleep it when I say it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's funny.
Because you're 75.
I'm not. I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
People don't. Whatever. We all think we don't age like we used to, but I truly don't think we do.
I
If
don't
you just
think so
do a
either.
side by side.
I don't think so either. And when you look at, they do all that thing on the internet where they show like the Mary Tyler Moore show,
Yes.
and then they put the ages, and those fuckers. And
I did one that
that's cigarettes. Cigarettes.
You think
and
that's
booze.
what?
It's
Yeah.
cigarettes. And
I think
booze.
you're probably right.
They
I
make
did
you look
one
old.
that was popular on Instagram. It was how old were the traveling Wilburys?
Oh yeah.
And it was terrifying.
It's jaw dropping.
They were so
Tom
so
Petty,
young.
42 or something like that.
37.
No shit.
He was 37.
Wow.
Roy
Wow.
Orbison, the guy who died, was 51.
Wow.
George Harrison was
How
40.
was Roy Orbison 51? He was like
He was 50. He died at 52.
Wow.
I think he just got famous at 18 or something.
Yeah.
Also, I'm young. I don't know who Roy Orbison is. So from the outside in, my curiosity, we'll get to your blocks in a second.
Okay.
I like to grab us up front.
Sure.
My curiosity with you was always, were you fulfilled by being a sidekick? Your words, not mine.
Initially, I left in 2000 because I was not.
And did a sitcom.
And I did a number of sitcoms. And I also knew, yes, I was there were all different things, but at the question was I unfulfilled? Absolutely. I felt like I had done that for 7 years. I was still young enough. I didn't have any children. I had the flexibility in my life and in my mind to think, yeah, fuck this. I can trade up. And I had seen other people trade up. I had seen like a bunch of guys that I knew and women that I knew, like do something for a while and then hit the market. And especially the Los Angeles end of show business is so childish that if it can't have something for a while, then when it can have it, it's like, I have to have that
Yeah,
thing.
it's funny.
So you'd see people like Rob Corddry or, Matt Walsh or all these people like that went, or Steve Carell,
all the Daily Show people
that went through
Colbert,
the Daily
same thing,
Show.
yeah.
Then, because I was more in touch with things, you would just see like there's like I can't tell you how many times like I auditioned to be the best friend of those guys.
Right.
For like Harlan Williams at one point. It's like, or Tom Green, to be Tom Green's best friend in a movie.
Yeah.
So I knew like I have been, I was invisible. Nobody even knew who I was. Then I was visible for 7 years, but no one could really have me. So I knew I could come out here and get something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that first thing that I was worried about. It was like the second or third thing.
Did you have a thing where you said to the show and Conan, like, if this doesn't work, can I come back? Or was it like...
No, it was just, I'm going.
I believe you pushed him down and left, right?
I did. And it's not hard.
No.
It's not hard. He's got like bird bones.
So, so you weren't fulfilled. And then did you have I didn't realize how good I had it. It was under my nose the whole time.
Well, when he came back to me, when he got the Tonight Show, it was...
So you were off it for 5 years?
No, like 8.
8, great.
Yeah. I think it was like 8 years, yeah.
And your life was better?
There was definitely... yes and no. I mean, I got to see what it was like to, especially like to see what it was like to be number one. And I didn't care that much for it. I didn't need it. I didn't get a charge from it. It's nice to be listened to.
Pressure.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of pressure
and a lot of bullshit. A lot of meetings I don't give a flying fuck about.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be listened to. Now, beyond that, that's it. You know, money, yes. But nice to be able to say, I want it to be this way, and people listen to you. But, I mean, I had that at Conan.
Yeah.
Both my first time through and then subsequently.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big draws when I went back, because at the time that he, and it was really weird because I knew he was going to do the Tonight Show, and that had been like a ticking clock anyway, because it was like a 5-year run up to it.
With a very well drawn up contract. Go ahead.
No holes at all.
So, yeah, don't look it up.
But he
hired a lawyer from the internet, right? He just went on LegalZoom. Was that his contract for the Tonight Show? Was from LegalZoom? That's crazy.
I can't say.
You should have probably gone to
I see all these people at Christmas parties. I can't say anything. But there was something where I can't remember exactly, but I had a hunch that he was going to ask me to come back and be on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And it might have been because he said, like, he texted me or you said, hey, are you going to be around tomorrow? I'm going to call you. And there was just like, I bet he's going to ask me, you know.
I had a feeling, yeah.
Well, I mean, we talked frequently anyway, so it could have been anything. But when he asked me back, like, I had been in development to do a sketch comedy show for Comedy Central, which I thought, well, come on. I'm so big for my britches. I can get that. That's fucking easy. A Comedy Central...
Sketch on Comedy Central?
Come on.
Take it from me. It's fucking easy.
Yeah. They said no. And after going through this process and I will tell you, I was super proud. It was a fucking funny show. Yeah. And really funny sketches. Just kept writing more and more. They kept saying like, oh, you know, different things. And I would have meetings with them where they're like, it's so funny, and oh my God, it keeps getting better, but I don't understand why all these sketches live together. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, you know, I'm in all of them, right? Like I'm sort of like the but you know, and you know, and there was like kind of an inventive sort of, you know, the throws to it. I don't know, you know, the sort of framework for it was a little interesting and kind of, you know, like playing a fake version of myself. And then they said no, and I kept joking with them, saying like, "Well, what do you want? Do you want me to just do like the bong report, and then just like every sketch is about weed?" And they went, "Oh, you know." And then I just was like, "Oh, I get it. Comedy Central wants a sketch comedy show to be kind of about one thing, you know, like because shortly after they said no to me, I saw David Alan Grier had the Chocolate News,
right?
David Alan Grier.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. They kind of
What year was this? 02? 01?
No, probably 07.
Oh, it was after.
Yeah. It was later, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had 3 sitcoms. I had Andy Richter Controls the Universe, Quintuplets, which I was just an actor in, and then Andy Barker P.I., which is a show that Conan created, or he had the initial idea for. And then Jonathan Groff, not the Broadway Jonathan Groff, who had been head writer on Conan, ran the show, and it was that was my favorite one by far. The cast was great. was working. Jonathan's one of the best people in the world. It was great to kind of work with Conan, kind of tangential. I mean, he's sort of dabbled a little in it, but I was in development.
You had a full life. You were living out here, married.
But when
you started having kids,
when he came to me and said, "You want to come back?" I was like, "Come back to having an idea on my drive to work and seeing it on TV that night? Oh fuck yeah, I want to do that. Yes, please."
I told you you'd never last without me.
And I had always been like, I don't want to be Ed McMahon. And then I was like, I guess I'm going to be Ed McMahon. All right, okay. And in that time too, I had 2 kids,
Defend the Ed McMahon lifestyle. Defend that position, because I've never heard there aren't that many sidekicks.
Sure.
Explain to me why you didn't want to be Ed McMahon, and then explain to me why you were like, this is fucking pretty sweet. I mean, you kind of already have, but
yeah. Well, I didn't want to be Ed McMahon because I saw, and it was also the way that role, like there's the host, and then there's the guy that's the announcer or whatever, that's kind of off to the side. That the way that had been played had been like, well, then there's this fucking drunk over here. Yeah. Well, then there's this fat guy. Well, then a dummy over here, And I just was like, I don't want to be that.
A punchline.
And there were times like there were old timers, because in the early days we had a lot of old timers because it was tough to get guests.
Tony Randall.
Yeah, and Larry King, who was very nice to me.
Yeah.
But Larry King used to do this like something would come up with like stupid. He'd be like, "You mean like this guy?"
Yeah.
And the audience would be like, "Boo!
Yeah.
No, we don't do that anymore."
Yeah.
And he'd be puzzled. And then but when we started the show, I realized this can be anything I want it to be. And Conan was generous enough and secure enough. He's not the most secure guy, but he was secure enough to have, like, as I've said, somebody with a similar skill set sit next to him.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of people. Like, I don't know that David Letterman could handle
feel like
having Chris Elliott sit next to him every night.
Yeah, I don't think he would like that at all. Did you feel like would you go into the show? I mean, what would you just go like, I'm going to sit here and be like a sniper and just say funny shit? Or was it like, I'm going to support Conan? Or did you have any kind of plan?
All of that. That's all kind of wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
But also too, that part got to be the automatic part. Like, like somebody's coming out. I don't know what sometimes I'd know what they're going to talk about, but most of the time I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I like it that way. Mm-hmm. I like to keep it fresh.
You were doing improv before you got the job, right?
Yeah, that was my thing. But like, there would be times when we'd have bits and that were sort of loose, like the setup or something, or we'd have something at the last minute right before we're going on. And Conan would say, all right, I'll say this and then you'll say what? And I say, you'll find out. And he'd be like, come on, no shit, just tell me. And I'd be like, no, it'll be fine. Like, just, but I don't want to say it now. I want to say it out there so that it's,
Yeah.
But I also, especially, in the early days, I was a writer on the show and expected to keep spots on the grid filled, in addition to being on camera. After a few years, I was kind of like, hey, look, they're not going to fire me if I don't have 3 bits in every week. So I'm going to lay off on that a little bit.
Yeah, because they can't fire me.
Yeah, because and
that's the human condition. What are you going to do? Fire me? Yeah. I'm on the poster.
Well, I did
yourself.
I mean, I knew like if there's an unhappy writer, who's going to know? But if I'm unhappy...
What, you mean a writer?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But if I'm unhappy, I'm sitting on the fucking set and the camera's on me. So, I knew like, okay, and which all that means is that after a number, and I mean like 3 or 4 years in, I wouldn't stay until midnight. I'd go home at 8. I mean, be like, the next 4 hours, I'm probably not going to... I'll just go home. But I was also, and this is to Conan's credit, and the greatest gift he gave me was he made me very much a part of the process of creating the show, of producing the show, of the quality control of the day-to-day, of the triage that you have to do with bits when they're on the floor, and you got it, the show's in an hour and a half, and you got to come up with an ending for something. He very much invited me into that process, and into choosing monologue jokes, and in just kind of quality control, just general quality control was the biggest part of my day, was being involved in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the show would come and it would just be fuck around and have fun, you know?
So you were just sort of like jack of all, like, I'll help out over here. I'll say something funny if the guest is whatever. When you guys did desk pieces, you were always really funny.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I mean, and occasionally I would also enjoy, because there would be occasions when I'd get to act. Like I'd get there'd be a bit where I'd really get to act, you know, and that was always fun. Yeah. But then it would go, 3 weeks and there wouldn't be a lot of acting, you know.
Yeah.
And I used to joke with the stage manager. I would say, if I play my cards right, I don't have to say a fucking word tonight.
Well, yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about, like, even the idea of acting. I just think now the job is just like, be multi-purpose funny.
Yeah.
And it's I'm going to wear a costume. And it's like, are you from the 1800s? Why are you being like this?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I do, so cartoon voices. I'm a game show host. I can do a lot of different stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's an 18-year. How long did you work there?
I was there. It was 11 in this stretch and then 7 so 18 years total with about 8 or 9 off in between.
You got married, had kids, divorced?
Divorced in 2019.
Fantastic.
So it's great.
Just in time for COVID.
It's great. Yeah. And remarried.
Oh, you are?
I'm remarried, and I got an extra kid now.
Oh.
Because I married a single mom, and I've adopted my stepdaughter, so now I got 3 kids.
That's great.
Yeah. It is pretty great.
Your daughter, the original 2, the real
23, the 23-year-old son, 18-year-old daughter, who's just going off to college. My son just graduated from USC with an art degree.
Very valuable.
He's
money
gonna,
well spent.
He's going to paint our house.
Incredible.
Listen, I don't give a
spent.
shit. I don't give a shit at all. He at one point even said to me when he was kind of struggling to get his stuff done, like, I wish you'd been harder on me. And I was like, well, honey, you need a different dad, because I don't give a fuck. I was like, and I had told him throughout his, high school and on, I'm like, you want to drop out? I don't care. As long as you're happy. That's really all I care about. And he's had this, like, he and his boyfriend have been together since they were 16 to 23 in a continuous, loving,
I gotta say,
monogamous relationship.
Doesn't sound that gay to me. Everything I know about gay dudes.
One time my ex-wife was like, ask them, she was all charged up. She was going with friends to Pride. And this is, I don't know, 6-7 years ago or something. She said, you guys going to Pride? And my son's boyfriend went, are there food trucks?
Yeah, some gay people are just like
Stonewall. What?
Yeah, like
what's that? Are there food trucks?
Some gay people just like to eat and watch
TV. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your issues.
All right.
This is very Larry King. Weight control.
Weight control. Hello. Weight control. Omaha.
What's going on?
How did you gain all the weight?
What happened there?
I just, fat kid into fat adult, and had different times when I was.
You don't want to switch up the brand?
Lighter. No, yeah, exactly. You get known for one thing. No, it's like that's where.
You're from thick people?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody, but most of them. Midwesterners.
Yeah.
Like I look at like pictures of my grandmother's family reunions, and it's just like these giant, dour plow horse Swedes sitting around at like a big gathering going,
yeah.
But just giant people.
Yes.
And my dad was pretty big. He wasn't heavy or anything, but it also is too, it's just like, that's where my shit goes. That's where my need comfort goes. And then like the only chemical thing, I drink and I don't, but I've never really had a issue with drinking, but like smoking weed can get out of control for me.
If you don't,
if I do it, but it's like, and I'm not doing it now. And I don't know whether I'm sober on weed for the rest of my life or what, but I haven't been doing it for a number of months. And And my life is better. I mean, I'm not, for me, it's better. My mood, I take drugs to stabilize my mood. And then I would go like,
smoke different drugs.
I would go like, here, let's pour some marbles on the floor.
Yeah.
So mood stabilization, much better. Just directed ambition kind of things, getting shit done, much better. And I don't eat like a fucking pig.
How long were you smoking weed?
Oh, my whole life. I mean, not as a lifestyle. Like my brother doesn't have a CBD business or anything.
Right. How many days a week?
Mostly, sometimes depend. If I was really doing it daily, the way that you'd have a cocktail. Like the way that
you would wait till the late afternoon.
Yeah, usually, unless it was the weekend and it's like, and also, like when my kids were little.
Or a weekday.
Yeah.
Move it up.
Yeah. But I mean, I if there was work things, I wouldn't, but like if I had a fucking Wednesday where there was nothing to do.
Did you like the way it made you feel?
Yes. It's a toggle switch of contentment. After a lifetime of depression and depressive feeling and just kind of an immutable sadness, click, I feel better, But the problem is
were you using it the whole time? The lifetime of immutable sadness. Were you able to mute it
on and
in
off,
your 20s?
On and off. Oh,
with the weed,
the sadness. No. It was the weed. It was. I definitely, when I was younger, self-medicated with weed. Mm-hmm. But it has a diminishing return. You feel like shit. You get high. I feel better. But then 8 days later, it's like I feel like shit when I'm not high. Yeah. So yes, definitely in the early days. But then, like I say, it was always just like such a nice relief from the tedium and from the ennui.
So you sort of realized fairly recently that you gotta either cut it out or severely reduce it.
Yes.
And then now, do you find yourself eating? How's that affecting the eating?
It's better. It's definitely better. When I quit smoking weed, I lost like 15 pounds without really trying, So yeah, there's just like, but I still have like, I don't eat bad. My wife is a vegetarian, and I do most of the cooking. So
your good wife, your second one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They were both good.
They were both good.
The marriage went bad. It went stinky.
Is that true? Is that kind of how you think of it?
Kind of, yeah.
Habits?
I would just the long and short of it, I don't want to get into it too much, but we had remained like good like partners at running a life and raising kids and still even kind of like friendly, but we just did not tend to the marriage. Yeah. The marriage just did not get any upkeep, and it just got beyond
it's a weird thing where
a repairable point,
when you're caught up in like the schedule stuff, the romantic part seems kind of like squishy or something.
Yeah.
We're like, and now we're a business now.
Yeah.
We have like we have schedules we have to adhere to.
Yeah.
And that's like, we got that. That's what got us here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it takes years too because you're like, the romance part should just happen, and it's like, no, the romance part is also part of the work. And when you're younger, you're like, no, it isn't.
Yeah,
it should be the magic part. And then as you get older, you're like, well, it just isn't.
When you're 24, you have more time for magic.
Yes,
because you don't have anything else happening.
Right.
Ask your son.
Right.
So. Yeah, that's okay. So what's your weight plan? Are you open to Ozempic? Is there a huge downside to your weight, or is it just something kind of aggravating thing?
There's not. I mean, there's not a huge downside to it in the sense that I'm healthy. I go to the doctor. I see a cardiologist once a year, and I get like good marks and stuff, but I do take I take a couple of medications for high blood pressure in addition to the antidepressants,
which you think would go down if you got your weight down.
Yes, probably, very, very likely. And I do I have sleep apnea, which there's a likelihood that if I lost weight that would be alleviated, but not always. That
I
know rail You get me. You understand.
Yeah, you got to hold on to the
possibility. Sure, I could lose weight and I wouldn't have to sleep with a machine.
Waste your time getting off high blood pressure medications and still have sleep apnea.
Imagine if I fucking did that and then I find out, no, I still snore like
rip off.
Goddamn mill.
Could have been eating pie this whole time.
I've always said that, like, after every salad that I eat for lunch, I think, like, if I die in a fucking car wreck, I'm going to be so pissed.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I could have had a cheeseburger, and here I am eating a fucking salad.
Yep.
And then a car takes me out.
Ugh.
No, but when it comes down to it, I like myself. I love myself, in fact.
Well, how'd that happen?
Work.
You always liked yourself?
Lots and no. Lots and lots of, and I mean, I still, you know how like you can love somebody, but they also bug the shit out of you.
Yeah.
I'm like that with myself, but I really do love myself. I'm proud of myself because I feel like I've made a lot of progress in my life, just in terms of being better at being alive. Work, money, I don't know, but I have all that depression stuff that I dealt with forever and ever. It's not behind me, but it's underneath me.
What'd you do?
Tons of therapy, lots of medication, and I think some time. I feel like
I know aging is disappointingly helpful.
Yeah, it might. I mean, like I say, there definitely was work. I've been in therapy for 1,000,000 years, and I cannot understand anybody that says I don't need it. I can't imagine being alive in this day and age and not benefiting from going and talking to somebody, even if it's once a month.
BetterHelp, promo code Neal.
There you go.
10% off your for your first month. You can switch therapists whenever you want.
But yeah, so I've been in therapy for 1,000,000 years. I've been on medication for 1,000,000 years.
Did you want to get off the medication? There are points where I was on Zoloft for 15, 20 years. And people go like, and people are like, do you want to get off it? And I was like, I don't. A therapist pointed out to me, like, depressed people die prematurely.
Yeah.
So not the unmedicated depressed people.
Right.
So I could stay on it and live longer.
Yeah.
Where it's this thing of like, it's a failure or a weakness or something.
People are really fucking weird.
I know.
Like, they're really weird about it. When the first time I started taking medications, my friends were, and this is back in Chicago 1,000,000 years ago, they were like openly like disappointed and scolding.
In the 90s?
Like,
that was like,
what are you doing?
How long are you going to be on that stuff?
Yeah. And like and I'm like, there was just some notion that it would somehow alter your personality.
Yeah.
Or like, because we were young creative people, that it would somehow stymie your creativity.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, when I'm a miserable fuck, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So when I'm a little bit happier, I actually can do things. I can make these creative things that we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So yeah, I used to kind of think like, am I going to be on this for a long time? And then it just got to the point where I'm like, does my sister, who's diabetic, worry about taking insulin? Like, no, it's just something.
Yeah.
This is part of the hand you're dealt. There's just different things. Some people go bald. Some people.
Yeah, I say it's like plantar fasciitis.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not. I don't know. It just happened.
Yeah. And shut up about it. Who gives
It's the Judeo-Christian.
Yes.
Protestant work
Pull yourself
ethic
up by your bootstraps.
Which I like to point out. Dave Chappelle points out the fact that you cannot physically pull yourself up by your. Impossible.
Yeah.
Don't even try it.
So anyway, the weight thing.
Have you accepted it about yourself?
No, not entirely.
Is it an ongoing project?
Not entirely. And I am never going to be somebody that's like going to be a crusader for fat people's rights. Because I do think I am being generally, in general terms, unhealthy by being probably at this point like 25 to 30 pounds overweight. Like if I lost 25 or 30 pounds, that would be a good weight for me at my age and whatever.
You'd be Drew Carey. Go ahead.
Could be.
With the glasses?
Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, if they got a game show.
Look,
can you imagine that life? Just hosting a game show that's on every day.
I hear nothing but good things about Drew Carey's life. I just snippets from time to time. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty great.
Friends getting on a private plane to go watch a soccer game that he owns a piece of a team or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, fantastic.
I'll take that.
Okay. So, and does it feel like I've been thinking about, I do sugar day once a week where I just eat sugar all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sunday.
Just out of the bag.
I mean,
bag of Domino sugar.
That would be too. I need to soup it up. Ice cream,
right.
Formats. I do a cake, a cookie, and by the end of the day, I'm pretty sick.
Yeah,
and I'm like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and there's something about the impulse. It's like Larry David. I mean, they did the Seinfeld episode about George thinks he's never going to get laid again.
What is with all these books?
I stopped having sex.
And there's almost something in the human spirit of like, I need to eat now, in case I never get to eat again or something. Yeah. We haven't
Yeah.
I don't want to make you insecure about your Drew Carey glasses.
No, I'm not. But they're fogging up, which is one of my fat guy triggers.
Oh,
you know, like when your glasses fog up.
You initiated the fat guy sequence?
Huh? Yeah. It was like, fatty's getting hot. Better take off those glasses. I just remember once Elton John doing SNL and doing a sketch, and just his glasses were fogged up the entire time, and my heart went out to him. Like
Seth Meyers
I know that.
Told me a story that he had to like talk to Elton John before either read through or the show.
Yeah.
And what he came to realize is that Elton John hadn't bombed in so long. And he was like a combination of terrified and pissed.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I can't just sing Rocket Man.
Right.
If things are bombing, I can't just go into Daniel.
Yeah.
So you feel like, so I've been thinking about the impulse to overeat.
Yes.
And it's very subtle.
I think there's also, well, it's definitely it's a drug. Like sugar, especially, you're getting a high. It's not as unsubtle a high as other things, but it's a high. Same thing. Like I know when I'm like over snacking, it's doing something to the dopamine, serotonin. I'm not a brain doctor, but I do know.
Hungry sometimes, and I'll just be like, "What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this?
I don't know."
And it's like, because I got to get the right amount of calories. It's like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna work it out over 3 days. You'll get
for me, I think like, Neal, you're fucking skinny. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
That's also true.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of dysmorphia and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's just more a matter of like, I'm pretty disciplined and it lacks discipline, and that bugs me.
I see.
And it's kind of like unnecessary. Like eating when I'm not hungry. It's like, for what?
Yeah. I also, a huge component of it too, for me, and it always was in a way, is like that I feel loved and I feel like somebody's attracted to me. Like if I felt like I couldn't, basic, like if I couldn't
find... the person who's attracted was Aunt Jemima. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Who is the one? What do you feel love and feel like someone's attracted to you? How does food play into that?
No, just that I don't have to, like I feel like, well, if I'm fat, nobody will be able to fuck me, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But I found out as life went through, like, no.
People will fuck you.
People will fuck you. It's okay. Yeah. And I mean, and they will not just fuck me like because I'm on TV or whatever. They might just fuck me because I'm funny, but that I can handle,
I don't think it serves men to analyze any follow-ups about why.
Right.
That's more women's domain.
Yeah.
They have to worry about long-term.
Yep.
I don't.
Yep.
It's none of my business why you're here.
I never did. And I mean, I was engaged before I got on TV. So I never was really, until I got divorced, I was never out there on the market with the TV resume, doing tricks for me. Artie Lang was like, Artie Lang got laid by somebody that thought that he was me.
That's fantastic.
And he like apologized to me.
Someone thinks you have a terrible drug problem, by the way.
Yes, I know. But I didn't, and even like when I became single and was known, whenever I got the sense that like somebody wanted to be with me because they were a fan, that was no interest. I had no interest in that.
That's gross. That is like a follow. Yeah. That is follow worthy.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of, so we'll put a pin and wait. And you said something about being a solo artist.
Yes.
You're more of a team player?
I am. It is no surprise that I am an improviser turned into a talk show sidekick. Just general kind of codependent. Like the notion of being a stand-up, I've tried it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I like being on stage with other people. I like that's where I get my charge. I don't even really need a live audience very much. I went to film school. I kind of grew up on film sets professionally, from student into like being a production assistant and then, working as an actor on film sets. And I like that. That's home to me.
Yeah.
Being in front of an audience is nice. And I like those people. And I appreciate that they came out of their houses to come see whatever me and the other people are doing.
Yeah.
But I don't need them. I don't need them the way some people need them. And mostly it's worked out fine. It is kind of like making lemonade out of lemons, because what it comes from is being a middle child. I have an older brother and a younger half brother and sister who are twins. So I am kind of middle.
That's like they form one person.
Yes. Yeah. So, kind of, and I was the morale keeper. I was the one that made
mascot?
Sure everybody was happy and kept everything
Was there
light
generally
and funny.
Darkness around?
Yeah.
Great.
There was a couple of divorces and some alcoholism and just general depression, kind of an umbrella of depression to live under.
What an umbrella.
And it's nice. And it really keeps the sun out. But I was relied on for lots of things, emotional things, even advice kind of things.
With your mom or your dad?
From early age. A little bit of everybody.
Got it. Still alive?
Yeah, both of them. So I feel, and at the time it felt very grown up, and I felt proud that I could be of service and that I was being listened to. But I know now as a parent, no, I was privy to a lot of stuff I should not even have had any knowledge about.
What do you think that does? Did it grow up too fast? Or emotionally inappropriate, lack of boundaries, does it lessen your parents' authority? Does it make you feel unsafe? What's it do you think?
Yeah, lessens the authority, makes you feel too relied upon, so that there's a Joseph Campbell archetypes of different characters, and there's the sort of golden child center that takes care of everyone. And the aspect of it that I related to is usually the first one to leave. It's just enough already. Leave me alone. And it has made me and I have worked through it, but have enough already, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Just let me be.
That you carry that to your other relationships?
Yes, absolutely.
Was it, looking back, was the trigger way too of hey, they'd be like, can I,
No, because I couldn't really say no to things.
Oh, great! So you're the best of both worlds. So then you're resentful.
Yeah, but I like helping people. But then it's just some people take too much.
Yeah,
and then I don't want to. It feels like so much energy to cut people off. It's I want to help you and I want to give you, but when you start pushing, then I'm gonna just back away.
Yeah, I'm
just gonna recede from you, and I'm gonna, Would
people call you on it? Was that your reputation for Andy's hot and cold, or
no, I don't think so. I think that no, not really. I've always kind of been a good friend, and I've been a sort of a constant, but I feel like I can be distant. I feel like there was, that was one of the things in my marriage. I think I kind of was there, but not there.
Got it.
And and I don't, you know, I never was neglectful of my children, but I might not have always been.
What are they going to do?
Like,
fire you?
But I might have, you know, I don't feel like I was always as present as I could have been.
Yeah.
Like I did, you know, I definitely will have moments where I mean, I have like these kind of existential moments of like, do I really know who anyone is? Like, have I really connected with anybody?
Yeah.
You know, but that's part and parcel of like, have I ever experienced joy?
Yeah.
Like this thing other people talk about? I'm not sure. Everything tastes like chalk to me, you know?
Help.
Yes, please. But you know, I was a good improviser. I like being an improviser. I still like being an improviser. I was a good talk show sidekick. Like I could sit there and not really worry about I got to get mine.
Yeah.
You know, I could there was lots and lots of room, and I never derived a lot of like my sense of self-worth from what happened there.
Where would you get it?
In life. I
but you were there a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, I knew that people liked me.
Yeah.
I knew, like, in the beginning when there were people, you know, when one of the NBC executives called me a stupid fat fuck or something like that. There's actually a quote, like, it's quoted somewhere. Like, when all of that, and I was reading like crazy critical shit about me in the beginning, 93, in the beginning of the late night years, I would know, like, well, the people that work here are like literally some of the funniest people on earth, and they all think I'm funny, and they're not blowing smoke up my ass. They really think I'm funny.
Smigel could not pretend to think someone's funny. Louis and Smigel, couldn't.
And so I knew, like, okay, you know, fuck these strangers in the paper, you know, or some.
So you got it from executive. Kind of improvise. I mean, like from the community of the bits, and
also too, I don't want to say like my childhood wasn't completely neglectful. Like I did, I was given a lot of encouragement and direction and love and affection and guidance.
Yeah.
In addition, you know, with like, you know, like
with some other stuff.
Yeah, with some other stuff. So I always kind of had that. I always had kind of a self-possessedness that, you know, that I could rely on in some way.
Well, it is a weird thing thinking about this being like an issue. There's such a premium put on like the star.
Yeah.
And it's like, what about the team or the ensemble?
Yeah.
I love that. I love doing a show with Dave. Like I love the sort of camaraderie of it.
Yeah.
But I also realize that not everybody likes that.
Yeah.
And not everybody's built like that.
No.
Like I'm from one of 10 kids, so I'm like, it's my brother who's like, it's like a scrum and it's fun.
Yeah.
But for some people, people don't move out to LA for camaraderie a lot of times.
No. No. I mean, you do improv in Chicago when you find it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So how did you, is that just another thing you've accepted about yourself?
To an extent, but I also know, again, like with weight, like it's not the best. Like if I could be constantly writing things for myself, finding things to develop, but also too, I'm a 57-year-old man.
Yeah.
Nobody's like sitting by the phone with bated breath, waiting for me to go, I have a
we heard
vehicle
from
for
the
myself.
57-year-old?
Yeah. So I have been, you know, I pitch things, I've developed things, but you just get, and also it's just such a shitty time. It's like, I'm not going to fucking knock myself out every day. You know, I'm not going to feel terrible every day. And it's really kind of the wonderful things, one of the wonderful parts, and it's really been like in the last couple of years, and it's a huge thing, but it feels still kind of small and just normal. Is it like I go to bed at night now, and I feel like I had a productive day, and I feel like I filled up my human life in this day, and I'm going to bed tired and satisfied. And I feel that so profoundly, yet so kind of matter-of-factly, that it makes me think about all the decades in which I went to bed feeling like I didn't do enough.
Well,
I'm fucking it up. You know,
I'm lazy. And by the way, you were probably doing more then.
Yeah.
what's the difference between, because I was thinking like now you're more easily satisfied.
Yeah.
With more realistic expectations of yourself.
Easily satisfied because I have a better perspective, and I realize there's a lot of. I just realized there's a lot of stuff that.
What's the difference between your point of view then and now? Like, do you feel like you were a lot of 30s and 20s, 30s, 40s is like a lot of busy work, or was it? Do you look back on it and be like, I didn't need to do half of that?
No. I still. It's a matter of. I always have felt like I should have been writing more. I should have been pushing more.
Yeah.
I should have been a better agent for myself and a salesman for the product of me. And honestly, I don't even care that much. I like going home. I like making a nice dinner. I like, I got a vegetable garden.
No, I know. That's what I'm dealing with. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people deal with this. Like, what is the right way to do this? What's the right way to think about this? I don't think you can just get to one. I think that you have to go through it. Like I have a theory that you cannot have the perspective that you have as an older person when you're young and beautiful, because you'll be too powerful and it will throw the universe out of whack. Like if you had the self-possession when you were young and that taut young skin.
Yeah, and had no aches and pains and just kind of, and still had that fire to make the biggest splash you can and make the most money you can and make the most people know about you.
The problem is you wouldn't, the wisdom would tell you don't bother.
Yeah, calm down.
Yeah.
Because when you do enjoy some of that, like, money is nice. Yeah, sure. But I don't need to make all the money. But I think for a while I thought, because money was, my family always had money struggles. We lived a nice middle class life, but there was always bill collectors calling and, touch and go. You didn't have a huge lead on your dad. Yeah. I mean, I as a kid could tell a bill collector, and when they'd ask for my mom, I'd say she wasn't home. Which again is another thing that's like, I wouldn't do that with my kids. If I wouldn't let my kids answer the phone and tell a bill collector, I don't know what I'd do, but I wouldn't give them that sixth sense. It's not a thing for a 12-year-old to have.
Yeah,
I guess.
I get the idea. So you said, and your son was still like, I wish you'd been harder on me.
Yeah.
Is in some ways he's saying, I wish you'd let me lie to the bill collector. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I think what he means is that the way that so many people, like I'm a big Howard Stern fan, and I hear about, and I know other friends like this who had a father that they had to prove something to. I don't have to prove anything to my dad. I never have. I've always kind of been like, I felt like the parent-child sort of need and providing, need-provide dynamic got switched really early on to where I felt like I was taking care of him.
Yeah.
So, I never felt like, I got to make it. So
there is something valuable. I mean, I talked to somebody about this, about there's something valuable about negative inspiration.
Yes.
Like there is something to the idea I'm going to show them. You're not. I mean, they don't care.
No, I know.
You think they care. No, they do not care.
But I feel like,
your dad might.
Howard Stern is such an example, and because I do listen to him so much, and I when I think about like who's provided me the most entertainment over my lifetime, it's Howard Stern.
He's in my top. I haven't listened to it in 25 years, and it's still like like, yes.
But he had a dad that was a recording engineer.
Yeah.
Listened to radio, was really into radio. So Howard got in his head, I'm going to be big in radio.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
To make daddy listen to me. And then he went through a whole lifetime of his dad not giving a shit about him.
Yeah.
So, I'm like,
you can't change people.
Yeah. Like, would it have been nice if I wanted to prove something to my dad? Like, what I proved to my dad is that, like, I'm mentally healthy. Like, I proved that. Like, I'm like, I'm like, I've worked hard. The hardest work I've done is,
does
like
he
I
give
said,
a shit?
being no, we haven't talked in like 16, 17 years. Yeah.
So that didn't work.
No,
but
it didn't work.
But to the same thing, it's like Michael Jordan is like mad at the guy who cut him and his brother Larry and all that shit.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the guy who cut him was kind of like,
right.
And his brother Larry's like probably like, I don't know, what was better than you? What the fuck you want me to?
Yeah.
There is something. You do get value from, like, you get the value of being mentally healthy.
Yeah.
And even though it may have been like the wrong inspiration,
Right.
Although you were probably not conscious of that, right? Were you like, I'm going to show you mental health?
Oh no.
I'm
going to
have
not really.
My own promo code on BetterHelp. You'll see.
There certainly has been lots of things that I've done in reaction, both good and bad, but a lot of it was not be sad all the time. Like, I definitely set out to do that. To like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be sad all the time.
I've gotten to the point where a lot of my goals now are emotional.
Yeah.
Where it is like, now I've also hedged it, and I've had I've had professional goals that I've reached some of. So
right.
It is like a hard thing to tell your kid. You want him to be happy.
Yeah.
But you're also like, hey, where are you gonna live?
Yeah.
You know, how do you manage that?
I do, he lives with me now, and I do poke him about, like, what are you gonna,
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I feel like,
and I don't mean your specific. I mean,
sure.
New-fangled parentry.
Yeah.
What's the hedge?
Well, you're never going to get it right.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But you do have to, like, the things that I always, and believe me, because I've gotten to, I thought I was really good at parenting, and then my kids kind of started to really into young adulthood, be adults, and there was stuff where I'm like, ooh, I might have done that wrong, and oops, you know.
But also, how much of it can you control?
No, you can't. These kids come out as they are.
Yeah. That's what I keep
when
hearing.
you look at a little baby, you're like, I kind of have a hunch that their personality is this. And then they fucking grow up and show you that you were right.
Yeah.
Like, yep, that's who that person
Yep.
is. And you can, the things that and it's like I told my son when he said, I wish you'd been harder on me. And I was like, I'm sorry, but then later in conversation, I was like, look, you have an amazing group of wonderful friends. And he truly does. I love his friends. They have stuck with each other for a long period of time. I said, you have been in a loving, committed relationship for a very long time for a young person, which is very unusual. That I am intensely proud of.
Yeah.
That is a major accomplishment to me. And I think about my son, who's maintained this thing, and that's, whether you're delivering pizzas or not. If that makes you unhappy, I'm sorry, but I don't care. I don't care,
but I'm saying, is it part of the parental responsibility is emotional health, and also can you fend for yourself in the world?
Yes.
Because I feel like the swing has been to just be like, I just want him to be happy, and I don't care. And it's a bit like, hey man, it's still the earth.
Yes.
And they're still going to need to figure out now. From what I read, the baby boomers are going to leave trillions of dollars to their offspring.
Oh, really?
It's going to be the biggest wealth transfer in the history of the earth, apparently,
nice.
from what I've heard. So that's sweet.
Yeah, I'm not getting any of that shit.
But you take care of them. You know how it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'm just curious as to how you see it.
Like the areas where I feel like I am not sure that I did the right thing is things like, do you want to play soccer? And then they're like, my son was so great. I took him to when he's, 6 or 7, took him to his friend's soccer game. And I was like, with the idea of like, let's go see your friend play, and like, maybe you want to do this. And he was, I said, do you want to do, after we were done, he's like, I don't want to do anything where other parents are there yelling. And I was like,
you got a point.
Yeah, you got a really good point there.
Yeah.
And I didn't push. And like, my kids took music lessons, and I didn't really I'm not exactly sure when your kid says, I don't want to do this, and you go, fuck it, I'm stepping in, and I'm going to say,
I had this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday.
This.
She has a kid, and I was like, what are things where it's like, no, you're doing this?
Yes.
Like, what things is it piano? Is it like Tiger Mom piano lessons?
Yeah.
Like, what do you force on them?
Right.
And what's valuable? What force is valuable in retrospect?
Yeah. Well, the ones that I did force on, and the ones that were important to me, are kindness and politeness.
Yeah.
Like, I insisted on politeness.
You would beat the shit out of them.
I would
I understand.
I had actually, I would keep tweezers and a nickel and a Bic lighter, and I would heat up the nickel, and
I don't even want to know what.
Just touch him with it.
Different
places where teachers will.
You called child services on yourself.
Oh,
you guys got to get down here and see this.
I said, when my son said, I wish you'd been harder, I'm like, remember the nickels, the hot nickels?
You wrote in here, speaking of, I don't want to go places where adults are yelling, being social is a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
You don't like...
It's the stems from the people feeling like people want too much. Like,
even at a party.
Yeah,
you've sensed that.
Sometimes, yeah.
And it's just emotional. They want your attention.
And, from being on TV and people knowing who I am, wanting to have the same conversation 50 times.
How is Conan? Keep going.
Yeah. And I mean, and some of them are very pleasant. And then there's other ones that are just kind of really stupid and boring, you know. And there are people that come up, they'll say something you've heard a million times, but it's very positive and friendly and respectful, and it's short, and they leave. Then there's other people that are like, now's my chance to just hold on to you and not let you go. And I have a real hard time being a dick. I can't, I mean, I can count on one hand probably the number of times when I've just kind of been rude to somebody to make them stop. And I mean, I've had people in my life who are like, why did you talk to that person?
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, like, I have my own methods to get out of it, like, in a way that they're happy with and I'm happy with.
Lying.
Because if I make I do not want to hurt somebody's feelings. That upsets me. It's too much of a burden on me. It's too much work for me to then get over the adrenaline, the dirty adrenaline rush of like the same thing of like yelling "fuck you" at somebody in traffic, and then being fucked up for 4 hours afterwards. If I feel like I'm rude to somebody, I have this. It just lingers, and
that happens to me, but it doesn't stop me from doing it. I just have and I'm like, why? I'm like making a concerted effort to not be like that.
Yes,
and it's still like. The instinct is just to reduce or minimize or get it ended or whatever. And
it's better now in terms of like me going to a party and not, but it still is like, and it's something like my wife kind of had to deal with, my ex-wife had to deal with, and my wife has to deal with, my ex-wife had to deal with, is, and my wife will be like, there's a party, it's a bunch of my friends, it's work people. And I'm like, I try to be a good supporting partner. Yeah. But there's plenty of times we'll be at something and like, it's been 15 minutes and I'll be like, so we can go now, right? Yeah. And she's like, no, we can't go now. Yeah. I'm like, oh. I felt like we really did a good job. Yeah. We said hi to people. I made a couple people laugh. Now we can just go home and be in our house and just talk to each other, right? Yeah. Like, no. So I try not to be that way.
Does drinking help?
Nah, not really. I mean, I don't.
And smoking weed ahead of time. It's just people tend to hit you with the same talking points, and you're just a little bored.
Yeah, but that's not.
It's not aggressive. It's not
that's not the entire thing either. There's also just kind of general shyness.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where Chappelle had the funniest story, which was we were shooting the movie Half Baked that we wrote, and he was in a scene with Willie Nelson, and Willie Nelson was like, "Yeah, man, I just miss going to the mall and people watching," and Dave said he was like, "Yeah, I get that," but in his head he was like, "It's fucking Willie Nelson!" Like he wanted to go like, "Fucking dude!" Like,
yeah.
Do you ever find yourself wanting to do the thing that you do that people do to you a little bit, like? ask about their part, whatever. Ask about the person you see on TV with them, the basics that make you empathize a little more.
Yes. And especially like now doing a podcast with famous people and even not so famous people where there's like, there's this big thing about your marriage that everyone talks about. And I would want to go, so what's the deal with the marriage?
Yeah.
And I don't, and I can't. And I know that it wouldn't be a satisfying answer anyway, because why the fuck should they tell me about their marriage, or their
whatever,
their drug addiction or their, promiscuity or whatever, like all the dirty, juicy secrets that are just natural,
that we want to know.
Yeah. So definitely. Absolutely. But I am largely unimpressed, like doing the talk show for so many years. You get it sort of like drummed out of you to care that much about famous people. I still do. I actually got I got to do the one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do, and it just happened recently. Fred Armisen got stuck in Ireland working on, I think it's that Wednesday show. And he was supposed to moderate a panel at the Pantages Theater, 40th anniversary redone screening of Stop Making Sense, and moderate a Q&A with talking heads. And he couldn't do it. Flanagan actually, the person that was booking, was like, Fred can't go. He said, what about Andy Richter? And they were like, oh, that'd be great. Yeah. And I got to do that, and I definitely had a moment because I introduced a band that sang one of their songs from the Talking Head song. They showed the movie. We came out, sat down, and I introduced them one by one. And as I sat down, I definitely did have this meeting. Holy fucking shit!
Yeah,
it's Talking Heads right
but
there.
It's a real pure.
Yes,
your age, who they were.
Yeah. And I mean, I saw that tour twice.
Wow,
like twice, and it was a big deal. Yeah, like twice.
I've watched that a bunch. Like I know Jeff Cronenworth, his dad was DP.
Yeah.
That movie works. The songs are excellent, but the movie punches so far over its weight.
Yeah.
It's just alchemy because there's no thing that they do. It's not like it's just single. I don't know. There's nothing magical about it other than it's magical. I also love that the like song that they let Tina and what's his name do is the biggest hit.
Yeah.
Like you'll come out, you'll fucking you can do your thing.
Because I gotta go get into another.
And they made more money off that song than the entirety of the Talking Heads. Yeah.
But and I mean, what I also loved about that, and it kind of like having to think about it and talk about it and ask questions about it. One thing that just really struck me was just that Jonathan Demme had the sense to just not do much other than record it.
Yes.
Than just like record it in a visually pleasing way that lent itself to the drama and spectacle that was already there.
Right.
Like don't spice it up.
What drama and what spectacle? I mean, I say this genuinely. What do you mean? There's no drama to it.
Well, no, just that like I'm just thinking of.
I love the movie. Like I listen. I mean, I think I'm right where I'm like, nothing really happens.
Well, by drama and spectacle, I mean, it starts with a spotlight and he chooses to just shoot the spotlight for a while. And then you see a shadow walking into the spotlight. And then the spotlight is just David Byrne with a boombox and a guitar. And at the time, nobody really done something like that. So it's compelling. It's like the concert starting and it's just him and then singing, I think it's Psycho Killer right off the bat. I think that's the first song.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And it's just, and he does it solo.
Money.
Yeah.
What you're not great with it, you said.
I'm terrible with money. And I have like a child's relationship with money, which is like I have $40 in my pocket and this thing costs $32. I can afford it. Like, well, but then you only got $8 left.
What?
You like
it just it's flat Earth. That it's just the money you have, and then you don't.
And I'm not. I was never driving Bentleys and wearing fur coats or anything, but I definitely benefited from making enough money that I could afford to have somebody that just handled everything.
Yeah.
I've said it before, like I pay for a daddy. I pay a percentage of my income for a daddy to handle the medical bills, to pay the mortgage, to make sure that we have earthquake insurance, to, set aside the money for my retirement, I say I want a college fund for my kids. Okay. And then somebody siphons off that money. It's all done for me and I pay for it. And if I had it to do myself, I would fuck it up. I would fuck it up because I just can't. You tell me about something financial. You tell me about like remember when we all had to fire our writing agents because of that packaging agent thing? I had that explained to me 3 times. And within 5 minutes, I would be like, and I truly would listen and I'd be like, okay, I get it now. I understand. Within 5 minutes, it's out of my fucking head and I don't remember what it is. I buy life insurance.
Yep.
Get the whole, just a Bible of information and all these different things. And I'm sort of making decisions as we go. And it's all, with other people's opinions and stuff. And then after I'm done, I don't know what the fuck I just did. I don't know. And my wife now, she's really, really good with money. And in many ways, I'm embarrassed by that was one of the most embarrassing things in getting together and really letting our guards down is that she realized I'm a fucking child with money, and there's just the way that I spent money and that
you can't get the gender roles right at your house.
No,
your gay son's monogamous.
I'm doing all the cooking.
You don't understand money. Your wife's got a day job.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry. I don't know.
We're
turning the paradigms on their head.
Has there been a bottom or a turning point, or was there one oh fuck, I'm screwed, or it's been cool?
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's not cool right now. It's no, I mean, I gotta fucking work. It still is kind of, the Conan show ended in 2021 and I was good for a pretty good long stretch and I was paying for 2 households, and I was good for a good long stretch. And then it started to be I got that job, and then that job will keep me for a while, but I need I need a steady gig.
Yeah.
And I realized too, I had an embarrassment of riches, both literal and figurative, with having a steady job for so long, but I just, and in looking back on it too, again, I thought I got through a certain point in my life and I didn't have I don't have any real regrets. But now I realize I did send my kids to private school which is basically I've been paying for somebody to go to college since
for 16
2005.
years. 20 years of college.
2005. Because my older kids are 5 years apart. And my daughter's last year of high school was 40 to 50 grand. Somewhere in that. And that's I could, if I had just moved to a different, I could have moved 15 minutes away and lived in a very nice town, in the LA area that has a wonderful school system, and we could have had that money, that money could have been ours. And looking back on it, I do think damn,
Yeah.
And, and I just we could have done a lot different. And I mean, as I say, we didn't live an outrageously luxurious lifestyle, but we had a nice life. We'd go on trips and we had a nice house, but not like a palace or a mansion or anything. And, and I made a good amount of money for a very easy job. Yeah. I mean, the TBS show is, I worked 4 days a week because they didn't show, TBS didn't have us on Fridays, and that was the way it was from the very beginning. the last, I don't know, 8 years of it. Yeah, 8 years of it. I lived literally 10 minutes away from the studio.
Yeah.
So I'd go to work at like 10 and be home at like before 6.
Yeah.
And that was for a big chunk of my kids growing up, and made a nice living. Not like primetime money.
Yeah, but like,
a really nice living. But I could have put more away. I could have blah, 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 blah.
Do you worry? Because I worry about running out of money. I worry about having, I'd save cheap. Do you worry? Like, what's the worst thing your brain will tell you is going to happen?
Well, I honestly, the worst thing it would be is like having to sell the house and move into an apartment. And even then I'm like, kind of like,
yeah.
It's okay. I used to have much more dire sort of like being on the streets, like homeless kind of thing. But I just kind of feel like, we'll start a
GoFundMe before that.
Barring the full breakdown of society, which, you never know, we'll always be able to afford rent on a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
So I don't sit there and worry that,
well, a lot of it is like, I don't want to be the kind of person who had to sell his house and go to an apartment. It just becomes, and it's like, how bad would the reality of that be?
Right.
It would be fine.
Right.
I tell you what you're going to do in your house or your apartment. You're going to sit on your fucking computer.
Yeah.
And then you're going to close it and watch TV.
Right.
And then you're going to pause it and open that's what you're going to do.
Yeah,
you're going to go to bed and you're going to whatever.
Yeah.
So like.
And it's, how much more, I'm not like old, but I am a mature, middle-aged adult. So it's like, what am I looking to do here?
Yeah.
I'm not going to open up my own custom motorcycle shop or something. It's like, I'm just going to live in a house with my family, have fun and laugh and hang out with them. And that's, so yeah, I can do that on different scales, you know. It's perfectly fine. It'd be nice to have more of a steady income nowadays. But the one thing that I just miss is making stuff.
Yeah.
I just miss making stuff. And that's going back to like the authorship thing. I wish that I somehow, but I don't even know if that would, like, if I had this fire, like I was constantly, out there, I got this idea and I got this idea, like that. I don't even know if I would be making stuff. I'd just be fucking miserable.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's also very stressful.
Yeah.
It's like hedging between stress and purpose.
Yeah. It's like signing up for 100 contests.
Yeah.
And like it's not necessarily a meritocracy.
And each one means a lot to your self-esteem.
Yeah.
All right, my final question, it's very broad. What do you think what do you think of life? And what do you think the point of view was?
Oh, that's very kind of my podcast kind of ends up on the same deal. Way to go, rip off. Fucking copycat.
Promo code Neal.
Yeah, check out the new Copycat 3000.
No one had ever asked questions before Andy Richter came along.
And the power of threes had never been noticed. The point of my life, and see, this is, but I mean this in as pure way as I can, to make people happy, to make people close to me happy, to make their life, their time here better. Because it really does boil down to like, I don't know. I don't think much. I think when you die, you go on the ground and that's it. So you got what you got time-wise. And if you can make it nice for other people, and if that can make your time nice, you're doing the right thing. You're doing something that at least when you get to the end of it, you're not going to be like, oh, I fucked it up, when there's no rewind, So yeah, and then professionally, I've often thought about, like one of the show business is fucking stupid and gross and embarrassing. like I've always said, like sometimes I watch, and acting can be the most embarrassing thing. I watch people in bad shit and I'm just like, oh, it's so embarrassing what we put people through. But
having said that, can I talk to you for a second? Pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also the thing. Like that was
can't close this mill.
Both of those were pretty good.
Yeah, come on.
It's not that hard.
What the fuck?
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
To quote David Spade, dogs can do it.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
But the one thing about being in comedy is that, like, and it is truly a beautiful thing. It is the like basic expression of happiness is laughter. So that's what your product is happiness in a way. And it might be fleeting.
Right.
And it, you know, it
at
might
worst
be
it's
cruel.
relief.
You know, but it's still, it's like,
it's only cruel to one person. I mean, you want to talk about a pretty small carbon footprint.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're being stereotypical and then
Right.
Then you can sweep whole population.
Right.
But yeah, it is, if it's just one person. Yeah. No, you're right. And that's a pretty cool thing to traffic in.
Yeah. No, I mean, my philosophy with the Conan show, and it kind of bridges into everything. I just kind of like, it's something that just kind of has organically come up in my life, is I always felt on the Conan show, if it's an hour, what that show basically was an hour that people in their homes could check in on funny, interesting people hanging out and doing fun stuff. And they just wanted to kind of eavesdrop on that. So the main job, I felt, my main job was to protect and guard my true actual happiness during that hour, and my actual pursuit of fun and a good time, and what interested in me and what would make me not have to fake it, not have to fake like, this is great, but to really have a good time, to really ask the questions that I wanted to ask, or do the stuff I wanted to do, or, you know, perform that bit the way I wanted to perform it. And I do think that if you can try and guarantee your own fun, it's good for everybody. I mean, as long as your fun is not at somebody else's expense, or is mean, or is, you know,
I mean,
like detracts from others.
Maybe a minor expense.
Listen, as long as the people you can just you know
something.
Right, exactly. I mean,
we all pay in. Sometimes
at
my expense is
right. When you cut down a field of wheat, a few mice gotta die.
Thanks, mister.
No problem.